Hello, hello. Welcome once again to another edition of Quoth the Raven, Lewis Bright Raven. I'm your host, Lewis Bright Raven, 30-year veteran writer, illustrator, editor, and publisher of comics, science fiction, fantasy, horror, and role-playing games. And this is a What Did You Get This Week Thursday, September 8th, 2022. And we're going to be reviewing several books tonight, as well as talking about Mr. Lopresti, who's launched his new Indiegogo campaign for WRAITH of God Bloodhunters. But before we do that, we kind of have to address something that's been kind of a hot topic this last week in the industry. Specifically, Jason Pearson, longtime veteran of the industry, went after a fellow creator on social media, Facebook. And, while I tend to not like to use Bleeding Cool, this is as good a place as any to use it. Afua Richardson, who has been around the industry since 2004, was posting some of her recent sketches on Facebook, at which point Jason Pearson replied in her thread talking about how awful new artists like Afua were. She's not a new artist. She's been around for 18 years in the business. Compared her work to his own work on X-Men, which he posted, and blah, 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 blah. And basically, thumped his chest and said, I'm better than you, so why am I not working? Basically. And it was rather disgusting attitude expressed during the thing. And, he goes, don't come into my industry without being vetted. Even at the lowest of the ranks of the industry, I earned my place the hard way. You didn't. Which was complete and utter bullshit. Afua not only earned her spot, to earn her spot, she had to compete against 380 different entrants into the Top Cow pilot season, which she won in 2008. And that was after 4 years of paying dues, if you will. And he basically made the comment that the only reason she's getting work is because she is a physically attractive woman. Now, whether she is or not is irrelevant. John Norris is in the house. Good evening, John. Good to see you. The point of the fact is that there are numerous women in this business who have been working for 8 to 20 years in the business, paying their dues, getting published at all different levels of the game, and they're just now, after a decade or more, getting their first real assignments for the big two. And all of a sudden, they're new talent. They are not new talent. And anytime somebody like Jason Pearson, or really anybody, makes that comment without doing the research and knowing who that creator is and what they've done, they're just talking out their ass. And that's what Jason was doing. And furthermore, Jason really doesn't have a leg to stay on because he himself wasted all of his professional credibility when he launched his Kickstarter 7 years ago for a body bag series, which to this day has not been fulfilled and shipped out. I don't care what you did in the past. That's going to hang over you, number one. And the other thing is, and this is something that a lot of the old guard guys that were getting into business, 25, 35 years ago, need to understand is today's creators aren't just comic book creators. They are multifaceted, multi-platform people. Afua is not just a comic book illustrator. She is a voice actress. She is a professionally trained and working concert musician. She is a background illustrator and designer for Lovecraft Country, the HBO. I think it's on HBO. But that television series, she works on that television series as well. So she is not just a comic book artist. So to me, Jason's attitude was one of jealousy and self-interest rather than any legitimate commentary. A lot of people feel the same way. He's been given quite a raking over the coals over the past week, but he has repeatedly gone after, especially women creators. He's gone after Gail Simone. He's gone after Colleen Doran. He's gone after other people who have been around for a long time. And I got to say it, ban his ass. He's done. He had his time. If this is the way he wants to treat his fellow peers in the business, I don't care how long they've had in the industry, he doesn't belong here anymore. Yes, I am critical of people in this business myself, a lot of people. But when I criticize a creator, I have done the research to see what they've done as much as I can. And if I say, I'm not going to name a person, but if I say a certain writer or a certain artist, I'm wondering how they got where they're at, it's based on the knowledge I have. Now, if someone else brings more knowledge to me, I'm more than willing to retract the statement. I'm more than willing to say, okay, I didn't know that. But when he has been given that information by literally hundreds, maybe even thousands of people over the last week, and he still won't back down, he's done. So that's basically what I have to say about that. And I can say as an editor, I won't work with him. I can say, if I was working as a publisher, he's not one of my people. I'm sorry. Not after that. So that is our discussion on that. I hope that people understand that, and whether you agree or not. So, putting that out of the way now, let's go ahead and move on to more positive thinking and do some reviews. This week, I got 2 books from the comic book shop, and I got a bunch of books last week, the day after. What did you get this week? I got them on Friday last week from Radiator Comics. Radiator Comics is a comic book shop. Let me go ahead and get their site there. It's basically radiatorcomics.com. But let me go ahead and share that with you guys real quick, so you guys can see what this site looks like. You can go to shop, and there's just a bunch of different titles, and these are mostly undergrounds and self-published books that are generally not found through the diamond market. You have to get them at stores that are ordering direct from the creators who are shipping to these stores. And I got a number of books from them, from creator Shawn Kuruneru, and we'll be reviewing a bunch of his books as a result. But this is radiatorcomics.com. And, I invite you to visit that site and look around, because there's always plenty of good things to find that you're not going to probably find in your stores. Here's one of the things from Shawn that we'll be reviewing, and that is Alien Glove number 3 World Series, $7. And this particular story, I'll tell you about it a little bit, but it's Joe Carter of the Toronto Blue Jays, and it's a fictional tale of what was going on with the what happened in 1993 when the Toronto Blue Jays won the World Series over the Philadelphia Phillies, and he hit the huge home run that won the series for them. But there's quite a few bunch of stuff from Shawn. You can see there's 3 Alien Gloves, Someday Soon, Fool's Wish. We're going to talk about Alien Glove, Fool's Wish, and Burn Man here shortly. But there's all kinds of cool stuff to look at. Again, that is radiatorcomics.com. Feel free to visit it. Okay. let's go ahead and start talking about the books then. With Alien Glove, number 1. Actually, 1 through 3. $7 each. LePay Press. Again, writer artist Shawn Kuruneru. This particular book is sci-fi fantasy, and it was published between January and March of 2022. Each individual issue is a standalone story. In issue 1, the origin story for a mysterious glove of immense power, which is clearly a tribute and homage to Arthur C. Clarke and Stanley Kubrick's 2001 Space Odyssey. The issue features iconic imagery from the science fiction classic film and novel with a new twist. In issue number 2, the glove appears in a crime noir story where a crime boss and his mousy cellmate are planning to escape from prison. What happens when the pair go from tunneling out by using a spoon to using the power of the alien glove? Well, we'll find out. Buy the book. Lastly, in issue number 3, again, we travel to the 1993 World Series between the Toronto Blue Jays and the Philadelphia Phillies. And it's talking about Joe Carter, and he's trying to find one final spark of success in his baseball career, which, of course, we all know he hit the major home run. And it's about a little story about how that happened. It's fictional, of course, but he meets a rookie in the postseason, and, it's interesting. What did I think about this? This is the cover to issue 2, by the way. I have to judge each individual issue because they're all, even though they had the through line of the glove for each one of them, they're pretty much unrelated stories. The Clarke Space Odyssey homage in issue number 1 was really nicely done. You can understand the story without that reference, so a person unfamiliar with the 2001 Space Odyssey novel or the film won't be lost in reading it. The art is fluid and well done. It has a lot of movement and energy to it, particularly in the silent first half of the book, where it's all the apes and big cats fighting. In the second half, when humans get involved, it was really nice as well. And this is a very nice, short, and self-contained issue. This is the first book. You see it's got a nice glossy stock cover. These are all pretty much black and whites, but he's got a nice individual feel to it, nice style. The big cats attacking the apes or monkeys. And of course, since the cat has the big claws, they're all getting tore up and killed. Some of the apes come across one of those monoliths, if you will. The monolith breaks. And inside is a glove. And the monkey takes the glove and realizes, hey, that glove has claws like the cat. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to go beat up on the other monkeys, and I'm going to go beat up on the cat and tear them up. Now I'm going to rule the roost. That's the first half. And then the second half, the humans come and they're looking for their monolith signature, and they come across and fight the monkey, which is pretty interesting and entertaining book overall. Okay, our second book, of course, is the one about the people breaking out of jail. It's a really well done story, but let's quickly get into this. The two convicts digging out the tunnel with just a spoon, it is an obvious plot, but where Kuruneru deviates and goes with it, he presents a strong enough flair and pacing that you might not see the obviousness of where the story is going to end up going in the end. But when you finish reading it, you will feel like you should have seen it coming, which is a good thing, because if you can keep your reader engaged enough to follow the story without thinking ahead, that means you've paced your story just about as well as you possibly can, because your reader is caught in the moment of reading the action as it's taking place. And that's always good pacing of a story. Now, we'll go ahead and take a look at this book. Again, it has a different look than the other one. And of course, there are some foul language in this. It is an adult 16 and up type book, but it is well done. I don't want to give away the ending, of course. The dorky guy found the glove, and of course, he gives the big guy the glove to try and do the digging. And instead of using the spoon, they just keep digging and digging and digging through. And the glove actually changes shape into a spade, into a baton after they're on the run from prison guards. The glove changes into a baton of his own with energy, and he fights it off like that. It gets pretty interesting. I'm not going to give away the ending, though, because it's a nice twist at the end. Again, we got the third issue, which is the story about Joe Carter. It's a good story, but it's probably the weakest of the three, partly because there's only so much you can do within the reality check of what really happened. But, it is well drawn. Again, you can see he tends to do, well, he has a similarity in his art. There's differences of what he's doing with each story. There's a little Evan Doc Shaner, a little bit of the Paul Dini type flair in this kind of artwork. Well, maybe a little bit of Mike Avon Oming in this. It is well done. So anyway, those are those three. This was the least this is the least favorite of the three, but they're all good. I did like this concept. I like his artwork, but I would like to see something a little bit more unique and imaginative in the art style if he chooses to continue the series. And this is a theme you're going to find with him as an artist as a whole. I do recommend the series overall for ages 14 and up or 16 and up. It depends on how you feel about foul language. And I give it 4 out of 5 stars for all 3 issues. Our next book is called BLINDSPOT. And this was not a book I actually ordered. It's $4.50. It's self-published by creator Joseph Remnant. The genre is slice of life humor, and it was released back in 2009 originally. This was a book that Radiator Comics sent as an extra. I don't know why. They just did. But anyway, it's about the creator kind of just talking about their own life in a way. How cynical can a comic creator be in understanding how likely they are to never make any kind of living at doing comics? That their work is largely for themselves and a tiny niche audience of supporters. This is the concept that is at the crux of the opening story of the book. It's a question that comes up in the introduction of the comic with a brilliant little scene that has Remnant standing in front of a backdrop explaining to his audience that he's going to be taking them on a journey. Then his roommate pops in with reality and shows that the backdrop is a sham and that nobody buys individual comics anymore. And by the time he gets his serialized graphic novel put together, that craze will probably be over as well. Keep in mind that this book was done in 2009, 13 years ago, but in a way, yeah, he's kind of right. I like the cover on this. He then goes into a variety of short stories, starting with Ace Goddard, who is a glam rock icon from back in the day, who's been trying to put out a new album for years, but he is a has-been joke, and nobody's interested in working with him. And a record executive and his record executive assistant are trying to explain to him that his only chance to do anything now is a greatest hits album, and accept the fact that he's seen as a joke to the world at large. It's kind of a sad but funny story. There's other stories in the book that include a tale about a woman who goes on a string of awful blind dates, a conversation in a record store about whether there is objective truth in musical taste, or if it's all in the ear of the beholder, as it were. A man happily walking to work on a Monday morning, gradually getting smashed to bits, a rich asshole at an art show who tries to impress a pretty woman, and Remnant's personal tale of trying to break through the wall of resistance in the online comics industry and make an impression. So there's a variety of stories in this single issue. Here is the book itself. And it goes right from the very beginning. Inside cover. Every page is nothing but comics, including the back cover. And it's all pretty well done. I don't really see any complaints that have to be made. It's very well done, underground type comics along the lines of Harvey Pekar or oh heck, I can't think of his name right now. It'll come to me. But there's the blind dates stuff. Truth with a capital T is the record store conversation. I'm not. Ironically, the stuff about the smart aleck rich guy talking to the woman about art, it has no art in the background. It's just the blank empty page with the two characters talking to each other about artwork, which is in a museum, which is kind of funny. But it also kind of shows how blind he really is to the world around you. So it's a really nice dynamic how he does that. And then he's talking again about his own expertise and experiences in trying to get success. Now, again, I didn't order this one. Robert Crumb, that's what I was trying to think of. So it's that type of humor. If you like Harvey Pekar or Robert Crumb, this is in the same vein. And in fact, Remnant did work with Harvey Pekar around the same time he did this book. So it's in that whole vein. But I think he has a little bit more hopeful and youthful outlook in his comics than those guys do. Even though he's telling stories about characters in hopeless situations in a way. But he has a very respectable imagination that fits that type of genre of comic. And since he started doing these books, he, of course, has worked at Top Shelf and Fantagraphics. He did artwork for Harvey Pekar's Cleveland in 2011, and he did a book called Cartoon Clouds in 2017. And there are 2 or 3 more issues of BLINDSPOT as well that you can potentially look for. Again, this is recommended for ages 16 and up, and I give it 3 stars. Our next book is Burn Man, volumes 1 and 2. Those are not $20 each. They're actually $15. My bad. Those are $15 each. Okay. Again, self-published by artist Shawn Kuruneru. This time the genre is horror. These were released in 2018 and 2019 respectively. They have different ISBN numbers. Volume 1 is 978-1-7327128-0-5, and Volume 2 is 978-1-7327128-1-2. This is a self-described psycho-noir story that depicts the surreal journey of a young Asian man named Wayasu, who is obsessed with a burning ritual after his girlfriend, possibly his wife, it wasn't really made clear in the story, gives him a letter with his name on it and later dies, possibly by suicide. Again, that's not really made clear. But trying to cope with the loss of his female, he fights cannibal punks, demons, the Grim Reaper, and more in his own personal dreamscape, trying to understand his haunted existence. This is the cover to number 2. I thought the story was really good, but it is confusing in some points of the narrative. We're never quite sure whether Mizu, that's the girlfriend or wife, committed suicide or not, and that makes a huge difference in the narrative of how or why Miyasu is doing what he's doing. It's inferred that she did, but it's really not. It doesn't quite add up that she did. I'm not. Like I said, it's a little bit confusing at times. Kuruneru's art is very nice, but again, he keeps shifting his style as the story progresses, and the narrative doesn't always flow as well as it could have as a result. This makes the story just a tad confusing at times. His work is clearly influenced by Mike Mignola in this book. There's also some Frank Miller influences and some more traditional manga artist influences, such as Koseki Kojima from Lone Wolf and Cub. That's prevalent in the artwork. I think if he found a balance, he could just stay with one look throughout an entire storyline like this, whether it's, any one of them instead of all three. It's like Kojima a little bit, Miller here, over here a little bit, 80% of it's Mignola. But if he could just find something that's really his, but takes elements of all those guys, it would be even better than it is. And it is a very good book. I give it 3.5 stars for ages 16 and up. Let's go ahead and take a look at Burn Man. Now, this doesn't necessarily look like those guys I just named, but that certainly looks like a Mignola piece. Look at the way that is. Yeah. And this has a kind of a Mignola Miller look to it as well. And it gets that way throughout the book. Now, this is more him, It has a little bit of a Lone Wolf and Cub feel to it, a little bit, but this is really what I consider to be his style, and it's nice. I like it. It's well told, it's well drawn. This is nice stuff as well. Again, this has a little bit of the Kojima look in there, but it's more his own type look. But as you get further into the story, it gets more and more Mignola-ish. And again, it's very well done. I like the craftsmanship to it. I enjoyed reading the book, but when it just kind of flows back and forth between these styles. I just want him to find something that's really his. And I think when he gets there. And again, this stuff is really well done, really well crafted. And I think when he really finds his style, it's him, and not flowing back and forth between two or three different styles, I think that's when he's really going to break the glass ceiling and really get known in the biz. I gave, again, this series 3.5 stars. Next is Fool's Wish, also by Shawn, Kuruneru. Both the ISBN numbers are the same on both volumes. I don't know why. These are $20 instead of $15. That's why they kind of got messed up. I accidentally put the price for Fool's Wish on the Burn Man stuff. My bad. Anyway, it's about a guy in feudal Japan, a young samurai named Kaiuzetsu, who has to seek out his missing brother who went into the mountains to find the fabled wishing tree. Encountering tough and rough terrain, animal and demon spirits, and other obstacles, his journey is both physical and spiritual and takes him deep into the realms of the supernatural. Will he find his brother and be able to bring him back home? And it's, here's the first issue. This is, trade. It collects like the first, probably the first 5 or 6 issues of the story. I love the format. I love the size. Again, here we are. We're starting with a kind of a Magnolia-ish type look here. And this is again more him. There's a little bit of Magnolia Miller here, but not that much. It's still mostly him more, and you cut to this, and that's just nice. It's really well done. It looks unique. It looks fresh. He's got good line weights. He's got good texture. You can see the weight depth and depth perception of the trees to the mountains, to the sun in the background. It's just well done. Mm-hmm. And then he's right back to this Magnolia look of sorts. And again, he does it well. He understands what he's doing with it. But it kind of makes you wonder what's going on. Why can't he be consistent throughout all in one style? And then here you go again, more his own thing. And you can see the Magnolia influence even on this, but there's just an extra layer of texture and context to the art this way that when you just do the Magnolia thing, you're using full blacks to create everything for depth perception. This has a little bit more nuance to it that I like. Again, you can see some of the blends here, When he does these blends, it looks really nice. Now, this is a little bit better story than the Burn Man story, mostly because it has a little bit more consistent artwork to it, but it has a better flow to it as a result. It is, again, Miller and Magnolia influenced. Again, I don't mind that, but I think when he gets to be more himself and not clearly trying to emulate their styles, I think his art looks a lot more unique and engaging. This has a very Hellboyish Japanese mythology feel to it, whereas Burn Man had a combination of Japanese and Greek mythos. But the artist is really quite talented, and some of his stuff would really fit in a Dark Horse, but I suspect that they pass over him because of the similarities to Magnolia, who, of course, is one of their top talents and with their top brands with the Hellboy universe, or Magnolaverse, if you will. I did find this storyline to be better than Birdman. It flows better. There's not as much confusion of events. But when he's jumping between art styles, it's just not as jarring as it was in Birdman. Or because it might be because I read Birdman first. I got used to it, and now I'm used to seeing it in this one. I don't know. But whichever art style he's choosing, he does manage to do a very good job of it, and I do enjoy his efforts. So, ultimately, I give this one a 4 out of 5. And that is Shawn Kuruneru, and you can find his stuff at radiatorcomics.com. Our next book is Holler. Now, number 4 did not come out this week. Number 5 came out this week. But I'm revisiting number 4 because it's been almost a year since the last issue had come out. So we're going to start with number 4, $5.99 from publisher It's Alive, writer, illustrator Jeremy Massie, genre coming of age / rock and roll story. October 21st, 2021 was when this issue came out. It's a very sad but excellently produced issue of Holler as a group of redneck kids steal Cassie's purse, which had a photo of Dave, the band's bass player, being kissed by a guy, which they taped up on a locker in the public school. Of course, Dave had not come out as gay, and this is being taken. This story takes place in the very late 80s, early 90s, where he's in a very Christian, anti-LGBTQ community in West Virginia. And so ultimately, Dave gets suspended from school because he got in a fight with the person who posted the photo. And so Dave's dumbass mom pulls him from school and just ships him off to live with his dad in Ohio to go to a private Christian school where they will, of course, treat him like shit and try to fix him rather than be understanding of who and what he is. The other characters, Mark, Phil, Jay, and Cassie, will have different reactions to this turn of events. Phil is livid at Rhino, who is a redneck jerk who taped the video up where everyone would take the photo up, rather, where everyone would see it in school, and he starts a fight with him. Jay is more worried about getting a replacement bass player than he is about anything else, which I'm not sure if that's intentional on the author's part, but what it really didn't make Jay very likable as a character in that issue. Mark, who is the focal central character, is just angry at the situation, and Cassie is living at Rhino's girlfriend Skeeter, who stole her purse which had the photo inside to begin with. So ultimately, the band and Rhino's clique throw down on the outskirts of town and beat the crap out of one another. It doesn't really do anybody any good because Dave still ends up moving away and is gone from the story. But all in all, it is a very well-crafted story, and it just happens to be a very sad and bittersweet story. What did I think of it? It wasn't what I expected in that issue. I thought Mark was going to get in a fight with his ex-girlfriend's new beau and get his ass kicked. So this whole part of the story came out of nowhere for me, which was kind of good. It was set up in earlier issues somewhat, but I guess I just wasn't expecting it to come to fruition in the storyline yet. And again, that's kind of a good thing because, again, you don't always want to see everything coming before it gets to you because then you're not interested in the story as much. So I'm glad that there was that. This, the previous issue came out 5 months before this one, and then it's almost a year. So, it's kind of weird. I just wish Massie could get the book out on a regular schedule. But I give Holler number 4 out of 5 stars. And number 5, which just came out this past week, came out yesterday. Does not have the same stuff on here, and I don't know why. But okay. Like I said, it's been a year since the last issue came out. I don't think it's the fault of the artist. I think it's the publisher, Drew Ford, who has constantly seeming to have financial issues, and his books are always shipping late and have to be resolicited by his company. In fact, I got a message from Ford from Facebook asking for loans to cover printing bills. And that kind of put me off, as in really put me off, because I buy Holler and I buy Strange Attractors every damn issue, often buying multiple covers, multiple copies for different covers. And so it's like, why are you asking me for a loan? And why should I expect you to even pay me back? It's a very... I'm on here on the show. I promote and I market these titles. I review these titles to let you guys know they exist so you can go order them. And I'm beginning to think that Jeremy might be better off looking for a different publisher who can properly commit to him. But that, I know it's a little bit ranty. I apologize, but I'm kind of annoyed with that situation. The story in here, though, is they meet a new girl who plays bass, and she has a sister, and they moved from Michigan to West Virginia, and they go out camping, and the sister gets a hold of some drugs and some alcohol, and she passes out, and they can't wake her up, and they think she's dead, but she actually does come to, and it's kind of a weird story, but it's okay. I did find the story elements, some of the story developments in this issue, a bit cliche, but it can be overlooked as the characters that were being introduced are new, and we haven't really got a chance to know any of them yet. So I'm going to give Massie the benefit of the doubt and give him a chance to let these new characters develop and let the story breathe a little bit as it moves forward, before I get too critical on him, because he's been doing a consistently strong title. From the beginning, it's been getting 4s, 4.5s, but this one's a little bit weaker. It's only a 3.5. But I do think, again, that this series is making a strong push in critical circles, if not sales, if he would just get the book out on any sort of proper schedule. Recommended for ages 16 and up. Again, 3.5 out of 5. And here is the book. Beer cans and other stuff going on. A little 2-page spread of, I think it's Mark and Phil, but they're walking through the trailer park where they hear the woman playing music. And she's just playing a regular guitar here with her sister, but it turns out that she can, in fact, play bass. So they're like, okay, come check our band out. We're looking for a bass player. And, she goes in, and of course, they called him and said, hey, we got a new bass player, and he freaks out. And so they, practice most of the summer, and she's picking up their songs and figuring them out. Getting along fine. And again, this is the sister who's snorting cocaine, taking pills, drinking vodka, just the whole kit and caboodle. And that's why she's pretty much out of it, and they can't wake her up at some point. They smack her in the face. They throw cold drinks in her face. Nothing is waking her up. And they don't know what they're going to do because, if she's dead, they got to find a way to get her body back. And Mark, he bows and prays, and she lets rip a fart and wakes up. So that was kind of amusing. is explained to Mark by the new girl that her sister is kind of a rebel and has done this before, and she's worried about her. So that's a little bit of foreboding for future issues. And we have The Ward, number 1 through 4, $3.99 each. Dark Horse Comics, written by Cavan Scott, with artwork by Andres Ponce. And colorists are Andre Ponce with Franco Riesco. Genre is fantasy and action adventure. It was released from June 8th to September 7th, 2022. And what it's about, St. Lilith's is a secret hospital for supernatural creatures. The personnel are overworked and the facility is underfunded. It's a place and a life that Dr. Nat Reeves thought she left behind, until a wounded woman with a tail appears on her doorstep. She has no choice but to help the woman, barely back in action at St. Louis Hospital for the preternatural, and the stress is already piling on. She hasn't informed her family, and her co-workers are whispering rumors about her previous departure. For all that, the place hasn't changed much, which reminds her of why she left in the first place. It's the cover to number 2. But what Reeves doesn't know is that a pandemic that affects both humans and supernaturals alike is about to hit. Patients are spilling into the hallways and being turned away. She's doing all she can, but she's only just one person. Saving the city may require drastic measures, and it's going to take everything she and the rest of the staff, a staff that doesn't entirely trust, that she doesn't entirely trust, nor do they entirely trust her, to try and save the city of Curtin from disaster. Now, if I'm going to be honest, it's nothing new. We've seen these kind of alien / supernatural / superhero ER type comics before. Most recently, ETER from AWA Comics, which you can check out my review on from my June 28th, 2022 episode. But this is a well-executed series, and the characters are engaging and visually interesting. Dr. Cervantes is a troll. Dr. Kumasaka is a Japanese ghost with no face. There's other characters as well that are interesting visually and personality-wise. If you liked 1980s or early 1990s medical dramas like ER, St. Elsewhere, if you like the kind of stuff like Chicago Hope or Chicago Med that were done even more recently, then maybe you might like this series. It's a reasonably entertaining series. Now, I don't know how well it was received. I do know that the trade has been solicited, collecting these 4 issues, so you can always be sure to ask your retailer about the trade if you can't find the singles. Recommended for ages 13 up due to language and adult themes. I give it 3.5 stars. Let's take a quick look at some of the artwork. Again, this is number 4. This is Cervantes going after basically white supremacist guys who were out to kill the supernatural, preternatural people. And it proves out that what they did was they took an organ from a certain person that was killed in the hospital, that died in the hospital. They took it out of the morgue, and they performed a ritual so that they could see all the monsters and kill them, more or less. And that's what's led to this pandemic. But here's some of the interior artwork. That is Nat's daughter watching the TV and listening about the pandemic. Whereas in the hospital, you can see they're quite overstaffed, plugged up and with people getting sick. I love this kind of split the person into 2 people so they can do more work. There's Dr. Nakamura. It's the floating ghost shape. And of course, you don't see her face because her back's turned towards us. But as you can see, she has no face. And it's just, pretty wild design. I like that. Then there's Luis Cervantes, who is one of their security guards / doctors, and he's been kicked out for getting in some sort of confrontation in an earlier issue, and he finds out that one of his neighbor's husbands got kidnapped by these white supremacist guys, and he decides he's going to go out after them and do what he can. And there's the scene where they're going out after them, and we're going to go get rid of all the monsters. And he's like, yeah, sure you are. Now, some of the artwork, I think, in here is a little bit weak in terms of backgrounds. I wish that there were a little bit more stuff. Like, this is supposed to be in the hospital. There should be a little more hospital-looking instead of a bunch of empty backgrounds. But as far as the figure work, some of the facial features, stuff like that, that's well done. I just wish that I wish the pencil would work on the backgrounds a little bit more. When they do backgrounds, they seem to be okay. This is where they find out that the janitor is the one who took the organ. And it turns out that they can cure the pandemic with blood type A. And so the only way to get blood type A, because it's a rarer blood type, is to reveal that the hospital exists to the general population, and they come in and start donating blood so that they can make a serum for the disease. So it's an overall pretty well done storyline. And that is all of the stuff I got this week. So what's left? Well, we got Aaron Lopresti's Indiegogo campaign, which just launched about 4 hours ago. Let's take a look at that. Wraith of God Bloodhunters. Again, this launched. Let's refresh that page if you don't mind. And as you can see, he's almost at 47,500, 521 backers. Obviously, he's going to do that. Now, if you happened to write into Aaron before he launched the campaign, check your email. There should be an email that you get from him that says, so that you can have links to a special secret perk with Merv the Astrochimp trading card. There are 5 or 6 different links. Don't just click on the top one. Figure out which one of the versions you want to back, whether it's the A cover, the B cover, or all 3. And okay, again, here's the A cover. Whoops, here we go. There's the A cover. That's going to be a wraparound cover. There's the B cover, which shows the book. Because it's not just Wraith of God. It's also Garbage Man and the Nightclub. There's 3 stories, possibly a 4th if he gets enough backing for it. And then he has the C cover as well. So you can get all 3, or you can buy any one of the individual 3. I happen to order all 3. Also, you can get a Empire Comics logo hat, a Dale Kaelin Werewolf t-shirt from the last campaign, that image, for $30. A Garbage Man t-shirt. This comes in the purple that you, or not purple, pardon me, the olive green rather, you see here, or a white. You can also get the Wraith of God t-shirt, or you can buy all plus sizes. Now, when you order the T-shirts, those are not available through and as an add-on. You have to order them separately from the comics. And the reason that is because there's different fulfillment groups for those, apparently. But you're going to get your shirts before you get your books, apparently. So that, or at least that's how he explained it on his show. You can also get the Lopresti big box of books, which is basically all of the Wraith of God stuff, and a bunch of sketchbooks that he did in the past, based on however many few copies he has left. It's not bad pricing. I think you get like 9 or 10 books for $140. You can also become a character in the story for $2,000 and get the original art that you as your character appears in for $2,000. Now, of course, the original art for the Merv trading card is sold out. The original art for Garbage Man for the print is sold out. The original roughs and layouts for the comic have been sold. The original artwork for Bloodhunters print has been sold. So basically, all the original artwork has already been claimed, unfortunately. It was claimed very quickly. I probably would have claimed something, but I couldn't claim my perks. I had a glitch in my computer. It wasn't hitting the right link to grab it, and I was rather frustrated. But anyway, if you remember the first story, the origin was Wraith of God versus werewolves. Now he's going up against Count Korvac, which is basically, kind of like a Nosferatu type vampire, looking to take over a Tennessee town with his blood-sucking brides in the year 1883. Can the Wraith and his faithful companion Esther defeat them? Well, we'll find out. And then there's also the backup feature, which is Garbage Man, where he faces off against a family of zombies. And then there's another backup feature called the Nightclub. So quite a bit of stuff going on. Again, I backed it already. I got, I'm buying one with this cover and this cover and this cover. And I'm also getting, let me show you what else I'm getting here. Here's the Garbage Man story, so you guys can see what the Garbage Man story will look like. There's the Garbage Man print. Again, there's your roughs. There's your Space Chimp trading card, which you can only get if you have already pre-ordered, or not pre-ordered, but signed up for the pre-campaign. That's where you get the perks for that. Now, if you get the 40,000, they're going to add a retro editorial page with the character value stamp added to the book. $50,000 will be a letters page with your letters will be included with the book. At $60,000, you'll get a Kit Carter Galactic Ranger, who is Merv's associate, trading card. $80,000, you'll get a collectible Garbage Man trading card. But if you get to $100,000, he'll throw in another 15 pages of story with Kit Carter adventure strips that'll be added to the book, which will push the book up to roughly 100 pages. And then if you get to 120,000, every backer will receive a Queen of Hearts Esther playing card to go with the Ace of Spades Wraith of God card that was with the first campaign. Now again, they are already at 47,000. So we're almost, we're already past the one stretch goal and nearing the second. So, and he's got 30 days left to back this. So good chance that this will get well fed, but I do recommend it. Let me see if I can. This is the link. And I'll leave that up for you for a few moments so you can write that down. And again, if you happen to be one of the people who signed up before he launched the campaign like I did, make sure you check your email. He sent you guys an email that should have links. There should be like 6 or 7 links. One for the A book by itself, the B book, the C book, all 3 books, a couple of other options. Make sure you hit on the right one you want, because if you pick the wrong one, you'll only get what was ordered. In other words, and this is what I was having a frustration with him with when he launched it initially, because all of them were only showing me the first one, and that was because I had a glitch on my mail server. But once we fixed it, I got the other links working, and I could get to the one I wanted. But that's the only way you can get the Merv, the Astro trading card, is by hitting one of those proper links. So make sure you do that if you have already got that. And let's see what else we got here on this. Again, the Bloodhunters secret with 25 Merv card. That's what it says with Merv card there, you see. And then you see it goes Bloodhunter 3 Flask Pop for 90. But you don't see the Merv card. That's because this particular image, this page I'm showing you, only shows the A card because of when I hit the link to off my email. Now, if I hit a different link on that email, it'll show me the cover B, the cover C, or the Wogue 3-pack plus Merv. That's what it'll read like instead. So make sure, again, that's what you do to get what you want for that Merv trading card. Hope that made sense. And that's all for now. Tonight is done. I want to thank you all for watching. As always, tomorrow our show will be at 8 p.m. We'll have a double feature movie night featuring Willard from 1971 and the sequel Ben from 1972. And that'll start at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I don't know who all will be joining me to discuss it. I might be on my own, but we'll see. I know John is probably going to be working. He's busy as music director for Little Shop of Horrors locally here in Columbia, Lexington area, and they're doing their rehearsals. So he'll probably be too busy. And I know that a couple of other guys have contacted me that were thinking about doing it, saying they couldn't because of immediate stuff, but that's okay. One way or the other, we will talk about both Willard and Ben tomorrow night. And that is all for now. If you like this episode, or you think others might, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons to continue to get content from my channel. As always, thank you for your support. John says, yep, he's too busy. And If you want to reach out to me on social media, Facebook, Lewis.BrightRaven, Twitter at LewisBrightRaven2. You can find more of my artwork at deviantart.com/BrightRaven. You've been watching Quoth the Raven, Lewis Bright-Raven, exclusively on YouTube. If you have questions, comments, suggestions for more content, Quoth the Raven LBR72 at gmail.com is the place to reach out to me. If I get back to you in a day or so, try LewisBrightRaven at yahoo.com. Have a good night, everyone. We'll see you next time.